to learn more about the real-life locations of Gossip Girl and about the other salacious stories of New York City. For example, the Gilded Age and many, many others. Let me know where you're watching from and let's go on a Gossip Girl tour. XOXO. But I'm joined with a special guest. Today, I have MeganDaily.com tour guide who covers New York City history. And how long have you been a tour guide?
I've been a licensed New York City tour guide for over a decade now, which is pretty wild.
Wow. And the reason I reached out to Megan was because she does amazing TikTok content. I love it. And you cover a lot of cool niche New York City stories. And then this particular tour is interesting because this is a very niche topic that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy, especially if you're fans of the show. But also, if you're not fans of the show, you're going to enjoy the scandalous and salacious tales that surround this area as well. So tell us a little bit about where we are right now.
So right now, we are at Central Park South. So we're at 59th Street and 5th Avenue, like right where they intersect. Now, behind me is a statue of William Tecumseh Sherman. But we're not going to really talk about him. He is covered in 24 karat gold. That's amazing. We like gold sparkly things.
Right.
Doesn't really have anything to do with Gossip Girl. But right now what we really want to talk about is the Plaza Hotel, which we can see in front of us. Now, the Plaza Hotel is where one of my favorite scenes from Gossip Girl took place as we walk under this COVID-19 testing site. Yay.
So let me pause you there. What is Gossip Girl? I'm going to pull up images.
Yes.
And we'll go to the shaded area over here.
Let's talk about what is Gossip Girl as we wait for the crosswalk.
So we're not talking about the HBO version. We're going to talk about the original version right over here.
This is the OG Gossip Girl. So there's currently a Gossip Girl reboot. I'm not going to address that at all today, really. The original Gossip Girl, this is the one with the characters like Blair and Serena. It really centered around Blair and Serena. They were two frenemies, if you will. They were best friends. They also competed with one another to be the queen bee at their school. And like if one of them
Gossip Girl fans are everywhere.
I know. Yeah. Say if one of them was succeeding, the other one would act like that car beeping the horn.
So I have the image pulled up. Which one's the brunette and which one's the blonde?
The brunette is Blair.
Okay.
Now here's the thing. Everybody who loves Gossip Girl like I have, and I may have watched the whole series, I think it's about 10 times now.
And it's a lot of seasons as well.
It is a lot of seasons. You have a favorite Gossip Girl character, a character that you really relate to. And it's usually either Blair, who is the brunette in the photo, or Serena, who is the blonde in the photo. And you may have heard of the actress that plays Serena, Blake Lively. She recently made a huge splash at the most recent Met Gala with literally the most amazing dress that I have ever seen. So if you actually saw that, I don't know if people are writing in the comments, but like if anyone is a Met Gala person and they saw Blake Lively's dress, she came dressed basically as the Statue of Liberty. It was like this beautiful...
In copper.
Yeah, she walked in...
It turned into green, yeah.
It patinaed, yeah. She walked in with this beautiful like copper dress, and then she did like a change and it turned green, or it patinaed, it just went. The copper oxidizes with the sea air. And the train of the skirt had the ceiling from Grand Central Terminal painted on it. It was amazing. Anyway, you may have heard of Blake Lively. She's the blonde girl. She plays Serena in Gossip Girl. So those are really the two main characters. They also have some...
Well, tell us just one sentence about each character. Like one of them is more spoiled, the other one's more trying to fit in.
Yes. Well, Serena's the one who's very like effortlessly the it girl. That's the Blake Lively character. She's very effortlessly the it girl. She can just like literally roll out of bed, not have washed her hair, put on like an old t-shirt, and all of a sudden the paparazzi is around her saying, this is the new it look. Blair, on the other hand, really wants to be the it girl. She comes from a family that has a lot of pressure, and she dresses like very classic. Her idol is Marie Antoinette. But she has a very hard time getting that it girl queen bee status. So that's kind of what causes the friction in there.
In the front, we have the very good-looking guy, the pretty boy.
Is that Nate?
Nate, yeah.
Nate, yes. I just want to double check to make sure I have, because I think they're all good looking. Oh yeah, that's Chase Crawford. He played Nate. Fun fact, I'm in an episode of Gossip Girl.
We'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Yeah, but all of my scenes were with him.
Okay.
So with Chase Crawford. So that's Nate. Nate was supposed to be Blair's boyfriend in episode, I believe it's the pilot episode. It comes to light that Serena slept with Nate. That's where all the drama begins.
Oh my God.
They get very upset.
Ay, Dios mío. Oh wait, it's not a Spanish telenovela?
No.
Okay.
So that's like he kind of causes the drama between Blair and Serena at the very beginning.
So now we're going towards the back, and we have another very handsome guy. We have two handsome men.
Go and check and see which ones.
Let's talk about the one on the far left first.
Him, right?
Chuck.
Okay, so yeah, Chuck. He's the one next to the other blonde girl. The other blonde girl's Jenny, but the one who's next to her is Chuck Bass. Chuck Bass.
I hear a little bit of fluttering. Is it the birds?
I love Chuck Bass.
Is there a butterfly somewhere?
Blair loves Chuck Bass. Blair and Chuck, really, their love story kind of whirls about throughout all the different seasons of Gossip Girl. If you haven't watched it, I won't spoil it for you. However, the Plaza Hotel plays an important role in their story.
So let's move to the other blonde girl.
It's Jenny. Jenny is, she wants to be Blair, essentially. She comes from a poor family that lives in a giant loft in Dumbo, which now probably costs more than anything in Manhattan.
And is the sister to right next to her
is Dan.
Dan.
Dan Humphrey, played by Penn Badgley. Dan Humphrey is a writer. He also plays a very important role in the Gossip Girl column for those of you who have watched it all the way through. I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't. And he and Serena, it's really their love story that kind of whirls about through the different seasons. And then I believe he's standing next to Vanessa, who is Dan's best friend. So they're best friends, and sometimes they have a little bit of a love story, but
we'll get
goes
into
a little
that.
sour.
So, round of applause for Megan for covering Gossip Girl how many seasons?
You know, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know. It's a lot.
A lot of seasons in one brief character synopsis. Let us know what's your favorite Gossip Girl character. But now that we know the characters, let's get on with the show.
Also, I just want to say, I said everyone has a favorite character who's familiar with the show. Mine is Blair Waldorf.
Wait a minute. Something looks very similar.
So I bought this on Poshmark. This is not an ad for Poshmark, but this is actually a dress that Blair wears in Gossip Girl. So,
and we have the image right here.
I do have a picture of it.
So these images were provided by Megan. So look at that. There we go.
We showed up wearing the same thing. Me and Blair. This is so embarrassing.
She would not like that. Yeah.
No, she'd yell at me. She'd be like, "Tights are not pants."
Adriana loves Chuck, and Chrissy loves Blair.
I love both Adriana and Chrissy because I love Chuck and Blair.
Wendy says that you look so nice right now.
Thank you. I even wore my little headband because Blair always wears a headband. And something that I think is nice, Blair, because she's so obsessed with Marie Antoinette, instead of dressing up like Marie Antoinette, she dresses up like a modern day Marie Antoinette. So she's not wearing a crown. She wears headbands all the time.
And is there cake involved?
There's not cake involved, but we might get to Blair's favorite treat a little bit later.
Interesting, cool.
She has a very specific favorite pastry.
Oh, fascinating. So this is the Plaza.
Yes. So we have the Plaza Hotel, opened up in 1907. When it originally opened up, you could stay here for literally $2.50 a night, which is roughly $65 in today's money.
Wow.
I know. Now, like, these rooms go for closer to $1,000 a night.
That is a lot.
Lady Gaga recently stayed here. A lot of people are very familiar with the Plaza from Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Yeah,
Whenever-
where he stays here.
He does. You can actually come and the Home Alone 2 experience. They'll give you a 100-scoop ice cream sundae, a DVD of Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. You can stay in the suite that Kevin McAllister stayed in, and that's like, $40,000 or something at the holiday season.
And someone screaming at you, filthy animals.
Yes.
That's an extra.
Oh, and they give you, I believe, if I recall correctly, a limousine tour of New York City where you go to different locations that were used in the filming of Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Fascinating.
So that's what, when I give tours, usually the buses, tour buses, student buses are like, oh my God, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Some people remember it from Eloise at the Plaza. That's a children's book series, which I believe is based off of Liza Minnelli, who actually lived in the Plaza for a little bit. But if you are a Gossip Girl fan, which I am, this is the scene where Chuck Bass finally says the 3 words, 8 letters, to Blair Waldorf. Now, I want to know if there are any Gossip Girl fans. Do you know what those 3 words and 8 letters are? Write that in the
We
chat.
have quite a lot of them. For questions, we'll answer any question last 10 minutes of the show. So if you have any really complicated or interesting questions, we'll answer them at the final 10 minutes. But let us know if you're a Gossip Girl fan. We have a few of them.
Yeah. Does anyone know what the 3 words, 8 letters are?
We have Rob tuning in
Rob!
from
Hi,
Trip
Rob.
Hacks. And Susie, nice to see you here. Hello, Ron. Hello, Jane. Jane says she loves Blair and she's from the Philippines. Kumusta ka? And Georgina's my favorite character, says Adriana.
Oh, wow. Georgina Sparks. Wow.
We'll find out more about her.
If I'm Blair, does that make us enemies?
Charles says, I am Chuck. Wait, are you the actor?
Ed Westwick?
And a lot of people are saying, it's I love you.
Yes.
In caps.
Correct.
Yes.
It's I love you.
Did he scream it or?
No, he disappeared for a summer. And basically, I think that there's a picture. I don't know if we can pull it up.
Yes, I'll pull it
up. Basically,
not the wedding.
It's not the wedding.
Okay. It's
Blair. Chuck is by a limousine, and he's holding a box, and Blair's wearing a green cape, and I believe her headband is yellow. And it should be one of the earlier photos. I can come and take a quick look. Nope, not that one. Doo-doo-doo. Oh no, did that one not come? That one didn't make it.
Okay,
it's okay.
No worries.
Anyway.
But what we'll do is we'll sneak a peek into the actual plaza. Through the window,
cool.
This way.
So yeah, essentially what happens is Chuck disappears for a summer. Blair's walking right here, really, where we're walking right now. Chuck is waiting by a limousine, waiting kind of right where that Suburban is, and he has all these gifts. And she's like, "Where were you?" And he was like, "Oh, I was in Germany getting your favorite stockings, and I was in France getting your favorite macarons." And then he finally says, I love you, I love you, I love you, many times. And it's so sweet. And if you love Chuck and Blair, you were probably screaming and being like, it finally happened. So to me, this is one of my favorite Gossip Girl locations because that's one of my favorite scenes in all of Gossip Girl, when Chuck says I love you to Blair for the first time.
And we'll sneak in a peek right over here.
Yeah, we used to be able to go in, but I'm gonna try to put my phone in my backpack.
It's a bit hard on live video, though I've done it many times. You can refer to those videos in the past, but refer to my TikTok. I show you inside the Plaza Hotel, and it's also on Facebook.
Now it's a little trickier to get into the plaza at the moment, sadly. But they do a high tea there, which is very fancy. And if you want to, one of the things that I personally like with Gossip Girl is I feel like you can literally look at this and be like, oh, this is the plaza. This is where Chuck said I love you, and then keep walking. Or you can actually experience these sites the way that these extraordinarily wealthy characters, every single character has more money than I can even imagine, the way that they experienced New York City.
Except Dan, who's very poor and lives in Dumbo.
Yeah.
We
He's
have
condemned to eating waffles every morning for breakfast instead of a lobster pot pie from Butter.
So one location we won't be able to go for this tour is in Dumbo, because two of the characters are from there, and they lived in bad circumstances, even though it's very pretty Dumbo loft today.
Actually, I don't know if this is like the best time to talk about it, but I'll talk about it. So because we're talking about the wealth disparity.
Yeah.
Disparity. So one of the things is Gossip Girl is kind of known for taking place on the Upper East Side. You know, there's a voiceover done by Kristen Bell. She'll usually be like, "Good morning, Upper East Siders. It's time for the latest gossip. Love you, XOXO, Gossip Girl."
It's really good. I love that.
But she's like always referring to the Upper East Side, the Upper East Side, the Upper East Side. And I think it's really important for these characters who are basically these spoiled, I hate saying spoiled because I love them so much, but these spoiled characters who have so much wealth from their parents. A lot of the wealth is inherited wealth that has come through the generations. So, you know, their parents have just always known what it's like to have a lot of money. And that is what the Upper East Side is. The Upper East Side is where the Morgans, where the Vanderbilts, where the Fricks all had their giant mansions. And when new money tried to come in, they basically were like, "No, we shun you. You are not the blue-blooded Americans. You are not American royalty." And essentially that's how the Upper West Side got created. They were like, "That's okay, we're gonna have our own neighborhood." So even to this day, the Upper East Side, which we're going to go to the Upper East Side.
I'm pulling up sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no worries.
Pulling up an image of the Gilded Age, because that Gilded Age talks exactly about that.
Yes.
And we are at the exact intersection where a lot of the show takes place.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So HBO MAX, right?
Yeah.
The Gilded Age, which for most of the series is just, I mean, as a licensed New York City tour guide, like me and all the tour guides were like geeking out because it's really cool to see these bits of history that we only have read about because I wasn't alive in 1920, like really be brought to life, whether or not it was through CGI or through historic filming locations. So if you're really interested in that era, the Gilded Age really brings it to life. And the characters or some of the characters are fictional, but it really talks about that clash between the old money, like why Mrs. Vanderbilt wouldn't want to talk to Mrs. Morgan, or you have the old versus the new money constantly clashing.
Right. Let's show more of the surrounding buildings. I love that. Laureen is screaming right now of joy. Because she's a big fan of the show.
Oh, I'm so glad. We would be friends then. That's great.
A lot of people are asking, have we seen the HBO Max version? I have not.
I have. I'm curious what other people think of the HBO Max version.
Do let us know.
I do want to point out that over here is Bergdorf Goodman. It is featured in some of the shopping in Gossip Girl. But the thing that I like to point out about Bergdorf Goodman here is that in addition to being a very luxurious shop, is it's in the location of an old Vanderbilt mansion. So basically, grandson, I believe it was the grandson of Cornelius Vanderbilt, he was just obsessed with owning the biggest mansion in all of Manhattan. This was very, very important to him. He would get upset that other people were building houses that were bigger than his. So essentially, he bought this entire block. So it's not just Bergdorf Goodman. It would have been bigger than this building, if you can imagine it. That was just his single family home. So I like to give you an idea of the wealth in the Gilded Age, is if you look at this building and you think, what would it be like for this to be a single family home? Does it look just like your single family home?
Yeah, pretty much. It's basically my apartment.
Bigger.
No, it does not at all.
So this is no longer a single family home.
Right.
It's now a giant luxurious shop.
Trip Hacks asks, is the same Anna Delvey place? But no, Anna Delvey's mentioned that she was going to buy as far uptown.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
on
I mean,
Park
downtown.
Avenue. I don't believe that Bergdorf Goodman is. She might go shopping at Bergdorf.
Maybe.
I don't remember. She might go shopping here, but it's not one of her like hotels that she stayed at.
Yeah.
But Bergdorf Goodman itself, actually, like it was just a tailor shop that was much further downtown, and then it managed to build itself up to being what I think it's a competition between Bergdorf Goodman and Saks currently to be the most luxurious shopping area or like department store in New York City. There's even a whole documentary called like Scatter My Ashes at Bergdorf.
Yes.
Because people are so obsessed with Bergdorf Goodman.
It's a really great documentary. Highly recommend it. The story of this actual department store is really interesting. And some of the most famous people of the Gilded Age and then later on came over here.
And a lot of like the designers that we know as being luxury designers, like Louis Vuitton, like they really were brought to the United States by Bergdorf Goodman. So when you go in there, I know that they're very proud of their little like boutiques where they are the first people to have brought that brand to the United States. And I think that that's something that the characters in Gossip Girl would have really appreciated as well. They're always looking for the most couture fashion, and if this was something that you could only get at Bergdorf's, they would have wanted it, in my opinion.
Like this. This is something of Blair. No, what's the other character's
this
name?
looks like a Serena.
Serena.
Or actually, maybe a Jenny. I'm curious what other people would think. This does not strike me as incredibly Blair.
And let's put your microphone on the strap because I think it'll be
okay.
better. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, now this just looks like an amazing mermaid. This is, they say it's Tom Ford, which to the best of my knowledge is not, it's not a designer that was used or featured in Gossip Girl.
Yeah, surprisingly not. But Chuck, for example, was known to wear very sharp suits.
Yes, very, very sharp suits. And I feel one of the things that's interesting, and I find that like I read a lot of magazine articles saying like, what would Blair and Serena be wearing today? Because I mean, this dress is Alice and Olivia, where we might go stopping by. Alice and Olivia is one of my favorite designers. I discovered them because of Gossip Girl. But like, would this be a dress that Blair wears today or that Serena would have worn today? Because fashion has changed so much.
Yeah, it's very early 2000s style.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where-
Similar to Emily in Paris type of fashion that she uses as well.
And I actually read an article about Emily in Paris where they said like nobody in fashion would dress the way that Emily in Paris dresses,
Right.
Which broke my heart because I dress like that. But right now the fashion is really kind of hearkening back to the 90s. So my fiance has a daughter who's 16. She's much cooler than I will ever be. And she's always wearing these like giant pants with like holes in them and like these little tiny crop tops. And I'm like, I don't understand, but it's so like, that's what's cool now. So it would be interesting to see how Blair would interpret today's fashion and meld that with her obsession with Marie Antoinette and headbands, for example.
It's fascinating. Something that the HBO show could have done, but it seems like they're not doing.
Yeah,
Let's continue walking.
I think that we're going to walk this way
Okay.
for a lot of stuff. I want to get us into Central Park to look at the duck pond.
Christine, thank you so much for the 200 stars. And everyone else, thank you so much for the stars. Appreciate that. Do you actually have a PayPal link?
Oh, I do,
forgot
and
to ask you
a
before.
Venmo.
PayPal, I have more international viewers, so
Oh.
PayPal would be.
It's meganmermaid@gmail.com. MEGAN, and then mermaid, like the Little Mermaid, because I love mermaids,
Nice.
@gmail.com. So
Awesome. If someone could write that down, I'll pin it. Thank you so much.
it helped me afford my
Yeah.
Poshmark Blair Waldorf dresses.
If you enjoyed this tour, consider giving Megan a PayPal or hiring her as your tour guide when you come to New York City. I'll be away for 3 months off to Europe, so if you're here in the summertime and need a tour, right over here, Megan Daly. And the reason I'm doing this is because I wanted to recommend you guys a good tour guide, and I'm really blown away by Megan's work, so right here. Top urbanist recommendation.
I'm so flattered because I'm a huge urbanist fan.
Oh, thank you so much.
I was like, oh my goodness, I get to do a collaboration with urbanists. This is so exciting. So if you're watching and you are one of like my friends that is not subscribed to Urbanist, make sure that you subscribe because he does really cool walks and it'll be really interesting to see where he's visiting in Europe. I just got back from Paris. I literally have not been back for 24 hours yet. So
that's dedication right
I'm
there.
like, what time is it? I don't even know.
Already on the streets of New York.
I do want to point out real fast, this doesn't have anything necessarily to do with Gossip Girl, but it does have to do with the Gilded Age and Manhattan's elite. So if we look at this building.
So Gossip Girl a la 1900s.
Exactly. Make sure this kebab
and
isn't
Susie
too-
says, I want to copy your hairstyle. I love it.
It's a curling iron. And I think that I got this from Dwayne Reed, my little headband. And the headband is just, I left like 2 little tendrils of hair and I pinned it back over the headband. So it was super easy. I'm not in any way great at doing my hair, so I'm very flattered.
Very Audrey Munson style.
Oh my God, we didn't even talk about Audrey Munson. Oh
Where
no,
is
she's over there. Well, maybe we can see her. Maybe we can see her.
Trip Hacks, thank you so much, Rob, for the 555 super chat. That's so awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh no, I feel so embarrassed. Maybe we'll jaywalk and we'll go in front of Sherman and then we'll look at the fountain.
Let's do
she's
that,
in the
yeah.
fountain.
We'll do it from a distance. This is a really cool story, so we're backtracking a little bit.
I know, but this is important. It's worth it. It's very, very worth it, in my opinion. She's one of the most interesting characters in New York City. And
So-
very Gossip Girl.
I don't cover skincare, but since it's related to walking and we're both walkers, what sunscreen do you use? Ask S. Fields, because your skin, she says your skin looks amazing.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. I use Aaron's Faces, which is, it's a very small company in New Jersey. Everything's like super organic and clean. And so I'm also an actor. And one of the girls in my acting studio, her name is Erin Williams, and she started a healthcare, like a skincare line. And I'm obsessed with all of her products. It's called Aaron's Faces, and all of my skincare stuff comes from her.
There we go. Pro tip
She's
for
amazing.
New York City hot, humid summer.
Yeah, it's really great. She goes off into like the difference between chemical and physical sunscreen. So hers is physical and not chemical, and if it like rubs off, like if you're swimming, it doesn't get caught on the reefs and it doesn't kill the fishes either.
That's
And
great.
it also makes me not break out as much. So I'm like, awesome! It protects my skin. I don't break out, and it doesn't kill fish.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know if you can tell, but off in the distance, there is a fountain. This is called the Pulitzer Fountain. Now, this is featured in Gossip Girl. There is a scene where Blair's mother is a fashion designer, and Blair thinks that she is going to be the model for her mother's fashion line, but she's not a very good model. She's kind of like very stiff. And Serena walks in and is just like, oh, I'm gonna give you some posing tips. And of course it's fabulous. And Blair's mom ends up firing Blair and getting Serena to be the model, which makes Blair very upset. And essentially they discover what happened, and both Blair and Serena run away from the photo shoot and do their own photo shoot right there at the Pulitzer Fountain. And they're wearing Blair Waldorf's mother's designs. It's very cute red and blue dresses, and it's very fun. I might have a picture.
Let's pull it
I'm
up.
gonna check. I don't know what got sent and what didn't get sent.
That one,
This one right
this
here.
one, okay.
Yeah. So there, if I look just like them. So I think that's just a really fun scene. And if you're a Gossip Girl fan and you come to New York City, like do a photo shoot there. Like do your own photo shoot. Super fun. Now this fountain, it's called the Pulitzer Fountain, and there's a woman in the nude. Oh no, not in the nude.
YouTube, don't demonetize me.
No, I know. I probably shouldn't have even said it. But yes, so she is in the nude. She's kind of like posed like this.
Like this woman over here,
kind
which
of
I'm
reminds
popping
me-
up the photo.
Yes, there you go. One of the things I'll sometimes say is that this reminds me of Lily Vanderwoodson, who is Serena's mother, who once posed for Mapplethorpe. If you don't know who Mapplethorpe is, look up his photos and you'll see why it was so scandalous that Lily Vanderwoodson posed for Mapplethorpe. Now this woman, the model for this photograph, who is also on the screen, had a life that I think is just as interesting as Lily Vanderwoodson or Serena Vanderwoodson or any of the Gossip Girl characters. So her name was Audrey Munson. When she was very young, just like a young teenager, she was shopping on Fifth Avenue and a photographer saw her and said, like, will you come and pose for me? And that changed her life. She became America's, like, literally the first supermodel. Photographers wanted to take photos, and sculptors used her as their model. I think there's over 50 statues in New York City that are still here today that used Audrey Munson as the model. So if you look around New York City, it's her face that you will see around as the model for many of the female statues. Not the Statue of Liberty, but for example, the statue on top of the municipal building, there's a gold statue, it's called Civic Fame. That's Audrey Munson as well. Now, Audrey Munson was so beautiful and so like beloved that men would do literally anything for her attention, including
Including honking at her.
including killing their own wives.
Oh my God.
So that they would be free for Audrey. So Audrey Munson's landlord, her landlord, killed his wife so that he could be free for Audrey. And needless to say, this kind of creeped Audrey and her mother out, so they moved. That's when they left New York City. But eventually, the strain of all of that attention and unwanted attention kind of drove Audrey Munson mad, and she ended up in a mental asylum for 65 years. She was there for 65 years, and she died at the age of 104, and she was pretty much alone and penniless. So this girl whose face is all around New York City, who was the person that men would literally kill their wives for, it's me stabbing a wife, ended up spending 65 years alone and penniless in a mental institution.
That's so sad.
It's really sad.
Haya and Esfield says that was the original influencer.
She was the original influencer.
Right.
I guess she was the Paris Hilton of the day.
Exactly.
And I kind of think that in a weird way, there is a similarity to Serena, the way that men would just like trip over themselves for Serena. But I also like to say there is a mental health facility in Gossip Girl. It's called the Ostroff Center. So what I like to say is we hope that Serena lives as long as Audrey Munson, so she's 104 years old, but she doesn't end up in the Ostroff Center. We hope she has a much happier life than Audrey Munson did.
Oh wow. So they touch upon that subject.
They touch upon Serena has a brother. His name is Eric. Eric is also gay, and in the very early seasons, he is in the Ostroff Center, and they end up breaking him out. But they mention the Ostroff Center several times.
I see. And Kelly says, "Good day, Ariel. Tell Megan that she is so like Jacqueline McInnes Wood. I'm not sure who that is.
I don't know who that is either.
Stephanie Forrester, bold and beautiful. You guys are a great team." And Esfield says, "True. Serena's brother is there at the beginning of the show." And let's see, another comment. Lorraine, thank you so much for 500 stars. And Joe says, "I was married to a Gossip Girl."
Oh, I want to know more about this.
And Ron earlier said that there's Gossip Girls all around the Philippines.
I'm so curious what they mean by Gossip Girl. Is it fans? Is it people who dress like them? Is it was one of the interesting things when I was in France I was trying to create content, but I was the only one. I felt like an idiot with my phone being like, I'm eating this delicious thing, and no one else was. Whereas in New York, everybody is.
It's just normal. But in Spanish, we have the name chismosa for a woman who gossips. And a lot of telenovelas, Spanish soap operas, have a character like that, or many characters like that.
Oh,
Similar to Crazy Rich Asians, you have the group of women who chat about the social lives of their children. Similar to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a well-known concept in a few cultures. Let's continue walking around.
New York invented it.
Not so much, yeah. New York doesn't really have that type of culture of too much gossiping, unless if it's like salacious news.
Yeah, I feel like New York themselves aren't incredibly gossipy. We do have a lot of people, myself included, who like to video and photograph everything, but I think it's less for a gossip purpose and more for a either I want attention purpose, which is maybe why I do it, I don't know. Or a like legit trying to share something wonderful about the city or that they're experiencing. So I did want to talk about this building. This white building with kind of the green top on it.
Wow.
This is the Metropolitan Club. You can kind of see there's like some M's over some of the windows. So the Metropolitan Club is a social club. It used to be only for gentlemen, but you have to basically be a millionaire to be a member of the Metropolitan Club. And the very first president of the Metropolitan Club was a man named P. Morgan. This was a man so rich that he was able to bail out the US government multiple times with his own money. Like, I can't even imagine, I can't even bail myself out half the time. And then,
which he did at the Morgan Library. So visit the Morgan Library if you want to see the actual place where he locked a group of bankers inside.
Yes, well, he would have these parties. He was known for having parties. And he was just like, I'll lock everybody in until I'm ready for them to leave. But he was a pretty crazy guy. And one of the things, I'm going to try to sneak us into Central Park.
Let's do it.
One of the things, he had this very severe acne rosacea. So his nose was like this giant bulbous nose. People would describe it as disfigured.
Hello.
But I think we want to go in this way because I want to get to the duck pond.
Sure.
He was very self-conscious about his nose. So in almost every photograph that you see, it's been touched up. It's been airbrushed, his nose.
It has, and one time he even screamed at a photographer because he took the photo too close up, featuring his nose very prominently.
And one of the things...
And he had that photo banned, which you can see at the Morgan Library as well.
I think that every now and then you get to see the one photo of his nose. One of the things that I also like to mention is that he was supposed to have been on the Titanic. He had a ticket on the Titanic, he had a cabin on the Titanic. I'm sure it was one of the super fancy cabins on the Titanic. But he was having an affair in Aix-en-Provence in France, and he was having so much fun in Aix-en-Provence that he just was like, I don't need to be on the Titanic. But I can't imagine, you have to remember that so many of his colleagues were on that boat, and to have lost so many of your colleagues, your competition, your friends, your people who you socialized with in one night. I think that people I know this isn't a Titanic tour, but I constantly am amazed, New York City lost so many of their most prominent residents on that one day. But that also feels very Gossip Girly to have been having an affair and miss your boat.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, that's very impressive that he survived because he was having a dalliance.
Yeah.
While his friend John Jacob Astor IV wasn't so lucky. And we also have one of the owners of Macy's.
The Strauss, Isidore Strauss.
Isidore Strauss
Ida.
Which actually their monument, Ida and Isidore Strauss's monument, has Audrey Munson's likeness.
Yes, there she is. We're coming back to America's first supermodel.
Right.
Now, I first of all, this is just beautiful. It's a beautiful photograph area, but if you are a Blair Waldorf fan, this is Blair's duck pond. This is where Blair would come whenever she was upset or sad, and she would usually bring like a giant loaf of bread and feed the ducks. This is also, there's a wonderful scene where she ends up kissing Nate. There might be a picture of that.
Was this a reference to Catcher in the Rye? Because Catcher in the Rye is basically the same thing.
Right there.
This one, okay.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
It looked very different in the winter time, but that's the Gapstow Bridge.
Right there. This
Right
actually
there.
would be around the same spot they would be standing.
Yeah. And there's a lot of scenes here. She and Chuck sit on these benches and they plot and plan. There's a scene where Blair has to do community service. Basically, her maid Dorota does the community service for her while Blair walks next to her. They're like picking up trash, and Dorota's picking up the trash, and Blair's just like, oh, life's so unfair. Why am I being punished?
She outsourced community service.
But that happens right here. I thought about bringing some bread to feed the ducks, but A, I'm not sure that you're actually supposed to, and B, I just got back from Paris. I didn't have time to go grocery shopping.
No baguettes imported from Paris.
No, I ate all the baguettes. I had some croissants, but me and Dave ate them all. It's just so pretty with the little look at, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's a giant yellow fish in there.
Yeah, there's a few of them now. I'm not sure if they're new.
Wow. I know there's like a very famous duck that comes as well.
The Mandarin duck,
Yes.
which was, a duck from China.
So yeah, I just like to bring people here to talk about Blair. And also kind of cool as you look up there,
amazing.
we have Billionaires Row or Millionaires Row, I've heard it referred to as both,
Billionaire, yeah.
where you have all those super tall buildings where everything costs like $1 million.
So this would not have been, many of these buildings would have not been here during Gossip Girl's time.
No.
Because they were built very recently.
I think the only one, okay, this is actually kind of a strange memory. During the last season of Gossip Girl, was the last season of Gossip Girl in 2013? I think it was in 2013.
Yeah.
That's when Hurricane or Superstorm Sandy came through New York. And there was, I remember, because I was trying to watch Gossip Girl on the night that Sandy came through and the power was going in and out. I was like, no, you can't let me miss an episode of Gossip Girl. But one of the things during Superstorm Sandy was there was a very tall building on 57th Street that was being built, and there was a crane on top of it. And people were afraid that the crane was going to fall down after Superstorm Sandy. And that was on top of 157 57th Street, which is, I don't know how easy it is to like point to it.
150.
Yes.
Right there, yeah.
So that one, the other super tall buildings went up after that. So that one wasn't even finished. The 157 57th Street wasn't even finished when the final scene of Gossip Girl aired. So you are absolutely correct that those super tall buildings would not have been there.
Oh, so Lady Gaga lives right up there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm not sure it still does, but she did own the penthouse of that building next to the Essex House.
Oh, wait, of Central Park Tower? Of the one
No,
with
not the Billionaires Row building, the older one.
Oh,
With
okay.
the green roof.
Oh, she has good taste.
Yeah, she
I want to move in there with Lady Gaga.
No, I was just gonna say that if Gossip Girl were to take place today, more accurately than the HBO one, it would be the son of billionaire Middle Eastern people, Russian oligarchs, and Chinese.
Yeah.
And that would be the cast of the modern Gossip Girl here in New York.
That's so true. I didn't even think about that. You really want to get the wealthy heiresses. I will say, when I have Saudi Arabian tourists on my tours, they always tip the best.
We'll actually talk a little bit about your tour guiding experience because it's very interesting. Whatever you can talk about publicly, because you've given some interesting tours, but we'll stick to that for the end.
Yeah, I just always think that that's interesting. Now, I want to try to get us to, we're not going to be able to see it because it's summertime. It's actually a really beautiful day, but Wollman Rink does play an important role in a scene of Gossip Girl. It's 72, but it feels warmer than 72 to me. So we don't have the ice skating rink out. Now I've been told that they're turning Wollman Rink into a roller skating rink.
That's so
the,
cool.
the second roller skating rink of the summer. We also have Flippers roller skating rink.
We
out
also
at
have Rockefeller
Center.
Center that was doing roller skating as well.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Flippers. It's
Flippers
called
is
Flippers,
called-
right? I might be getting that wrong. It opened just before I left. But this area over here, yeah, they're getting ready for the...
And not just Gossip Girl, but just to quickly mention Serendipity and Home Alone 2, Boston, New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like almost every movie and every television show ever filmed in New York City will feature, it'll either be Wollman Rink or the Rockefeller Center rink.
The gates are open just for us.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm sneaking into something.
Well, we'll see it from here.
Oh, it does say no admittance, authorized employees only.
We'll see this vantage point.
Now, I don't know if I have a picture. I may have had a picture of the ice skating. Nope.
No.
So basically, Blair, we find out like very, very early on in Gossip Girl, I think it's actually the first episode, that Blair's father left her mother for a model, a male model
Oh my God.
named Romain, who lives in France. And Blair does not warm up to Romain very easily because she feels that Romain stole her father from her. So her father moves to France, like leaves their like nuclear family. So the very first time that she meets him, they go ice skating here at Wollman Rink, and Blair pretends to warm up, and she's kind of standing by the boards of the rink. She's wearing a cute outfit from H&M, mind you, which is very un-Blair. And she stands by the boards and she puts out her skate like this. And she's like, come to me, I'll help you skate, Romain. Because he's not a very good skater. And he comes towards her and then she puts out her foot and he ends up tripping. And I forget if he breaks his leg or his ankle,
no.
but it's not good. And they find out that Blair was trying to trick him. So that was the scene, the Gossip Girl scene.
I thought that was going to be
here.
much darker. I'm glad it wasn't.
What did you think was going to happen?
I thought the blade will come into play.
No, fortunately,
Yeah.
Blair's not a murderer that we know of.
Thankfully, it's not the HBO Max version.
Who knows what would happen in that version? I
haven't.
tried-
Sorry to interrupt, but I haven't seen the show. I just am playfully making fun of it.
I try to be very, very positive, and I don't like to say, negative things. Like, try to just keep it to the positive. But I'm not the biggest fan of the new one. Just to me, there was like a spirit of the original Gossip Girl, and we could start to.
So the HBO Max version is like your Roma.
Yes. Yeah, I just feel like part of the fun of Gossip Girl, to me at least, was that it was almost making fun of itself. It wasn't too serious. And it's like one thing if it's kids kind of gossiping against kids, but I don't like the idea of like the teachers versus the kids. To me, that's like mean. The teachers shouldn't be taking videos of the kids and trying to manipulate the kids' lives. The teachers should be there to actually, help the kids and guide the kids and help the kids learn valuable lessons. Now, this area, Central Park, it's always so frustrating. I just want to get out.
Where are we going for the
Oh,
next
I'm just
stop?
trying to get out to go to Madison.
Madison, it's better that we backtrack because
Okay,
we're gonna
let's
get very
backtrack.
entangled here.
I know, the twisty, turny, windy roads of Central Park. One of the interesting things about these twisty, turny, windy roads, though, let's go up here, which you've probably covered in some of your other videos. Manhattan's on a grid system.
Yeah.
All the streets make sense. Wait, we have to look at this.
Yeah.
This is very exciting. This is called a field strawberry. I always talk about these because a lot of times when I do tours, they want to go into Central Park and we go to strawberry fields.
Right.
And they keep trying to plant strawberries. And they don't really grow, but every now and then, it's very rare, you'll see one of these little guys reaching up towards the heavens. And one of the workers at the Central Park construction I called it an anemic strawberry.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's not an anemic strawberry. It is a field strawberry. So there you go, a field strawberry.
So did Blair use that in order to poison Roma?
No. I think she and Roman became friends after she realized that he had a wonderful house in France that she could go to at any point in time. And then she was like, oh, awesome. Do we want to go?
Yeah, we'll end up a little bit further uptown this way. Yeah,
that's fine.
Someone mentioned the Bolt of Central Park.
The Bolt of Central Park.
So Central Park is a grid, New York City is a grid system, and when the grid system was established in 1811, they had to hammer in bolts on the intersections.
Oh.
There is a bolt sticking out, but we won't cover it this time around. But maybe I'll cover it in the TikTok. Stay tuned.
I like seeing the marks in Well, first of all, I'm sure you've covered this a million times, but I'm just going to share it because people always love it. So all the rocks that you see. So something that surprises people, I have found, is that they learn that Central Park is pretty much completely man-made.
Yeah.
Like it's a real tree, but the tree has been planted. It's a real bush, but the bush has been planted. The only thing that's kind of like really natural are the rocks. Now the rocks are your glimpse into the bedrock of New York City. And that bedrock is really, really strong. You want to go.
So all the piles of schist that is all around the city.
Ruined my punchline.
Oh, you had.
I had a punchline.
That's my punchline. I say it all the time as well.
Oh, yeah. Funny. So yeah, I usually
don't worry, there's a lot of schist puns.
There's a lot of schist puns. I always say that's the one thing that people are going to remember from any tour is that the bedrock of New York City is called schist.
Yeah.
And New York is built on a giant pile of schist. But
Ron says, I'm more of the Jake Peralta character from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I don't know Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Me neither, not too much.
It's actually a little embarrassing that I basically watch Gossip Girl and nothing else. Whoops.
And yeah. And Kay says you're also a fast walker.
Oh.
So you are a New Yorker, right?
I am.
You've been here for a long time.
I have been. I've been here for 20 years.
20
I'm
years,
originally from Florida. But I do have a bit of advice. Like even on a Gossip Girl tour, even if you're like, I'm going to dress up, I want to be Blair, do not wear her shoes. I am wearing Nike sneakers because you will be walking. You will be walking a lot. And if you are walking a lot, you want to be very, very comfy.
Is this new? The native meadow.
The native meadow. I don't think it's new. I've brought people in here before. One of the interesting things I think about Central Park is that you have all these different kind of ecosystems.
Yeah.
So they wanted, poor people who couldn't make it up to the Adirondack Mountains to be able to see what the Adirondack Mountains would look like.
With wild squirrels all over the place.
Wild squirrels. But there's actually, you can find waterfalls in Central Park.
Yeah.
I forget exactly how many waterfalls.
There's definitely more towards the north.
But there's a couple between Bethesda Terrace and like the Delacorte Theater. And that whole specific section, the Ramble, is supposed to represent the Adirondack Mountains. And something that, as long as we were talking about those tall buildings that wouldn't have been there while they were filming Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
When they were building Central Park, of course, we didn't have these tall buildings either. So you could literally stand here and just see wilderness.
Right.
And considering the fact that it was like 1865 and they couldn't have imagined these tall buildings.
I mean, imagine the early days of Gossip Girl. They didn't have iPhones.
I know. I remember in Gossip Girl, the season where they started using video. And that was so, because it would just be girls. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Gossip Girl, the whole concept is there is a gossip column, or it's almost like a blog.
It's a blog, yeah.
Yeah.
but it's in the style of the old gossip columns of like the National Enquirer and Page Six in the UK.
Essentially, it's fueled by everybody in New York, really, but especially at the school, Constance Billard, which is the school that these students attend for high school. And they would walk around with their smartphones and they would take photographs of people.
Yeah.
So there'd be like a photograph of Serena and Dan kissing, or a photograph of Serena and Nate kissing. And it was like, no. And then that would be published and nobody was able to keep their secrets. So it was very photocentric.
Right.
But then it became video, and that just changed everything.
And let me pause you there because this actually coincided with the birth of Gawker Media here in New York City. I'm not sure if you heard that, a media publication.
I did not know that. I know of Gawker, but I didn't know that they corresponded.
They corresponded all the salacious news of the elite of New York City. And of course the people who are very rich, not necessarily of the social high class, but also were very wealthy. So they would tell the most scandalous news here in New York City, and coincided with the Gossip Girl airing on TV. So it was a time where blogs were pretty new and people were unfortunately misusing them for negative reasons.
So let's see if we can cross. I don't know if we want to try to scurry and make it
Yes, let's do it.
8 seconds, 6 seconds.
Ended up being a lot hotter today than
I know. It said it was gonna be cold and rainy.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so right now we have entered the Upper East Side, and we can actually walk down here. And I feel that this is the heart of where Gossip Girl takes place. Now, one of the things that I say on my tours is that New York City is made up of a bunch of little villages all stacked on top of one another. Mm-hmm. So like every 10 blocks that you walk, you're gonna feel like you're in a totally different town or a totally different village or neighborhood. We didn't spend that much time kind of at the north end of Midtown when we were down by the plaza. But right. You might have noticed that it was very busy. We were walking in front of Bergdorf Goodman. There was lots of sounds, a lot of traffic, a lot of people walking by. All the storefronts were kind of beckoning you in. We heard some coins being clinked. There were lots of hot dog stands.
Let's pause over here and show the houses.
Yeah, then you come here and look at this architecture. Absolutely gorgeous. These were all mansions from the Gilded Age. Right now, I'm not exactly sure about any specific one of these, but it's possible that these are owned by one person. It's also possible that some of these are businesses or commercial on the bottom, and then a couple of different apartments on the top. Some of them are also embassies here on the Upper East Side, but they would have all been owned by one person, which just blows my mind.
So in the show, we show a few of the houses over and over again, but there's a lot of characters who we don't show the houses. Would they be living in houses like these?
Well, we will go by, in just a few blocks, we'll go by Nate Archibald's house.
Okay.
That is the only house that was actually used, like they actually filmed inside and outside.
Oh, interesting.
Everything else was a sound stage in Queens.
Mm-hmm. Do you know which studio? If people do let us know, was it Silver Cup or was it Kaufman?
I believe it was Kaufman.
Okay.
So this is Madison Avenue. Now Madison Avenue, I think personally, and people might disagree with me on this, I think that there is better shopping on Madison Avenue than on Fifth Avenue. I know that those are fighting words, but I prefer the shopping here. Now, of course, this is very expensive. If you're on Fifth Avenue, that tends to really cater towards the tourists. You have a lot of like flagship stores. That's where you have the Saks flagship store and the Bergdorf Goodman flagship store. Yeah. But when you're looking for like really like unique niche boutique stores, this is where you want to come. Now, this is also a lot quieter than Fifth Avenue. We didn't spend that much time on Fifth Avenue. I don't know if you're noticing a difference just by listening.
It is, yeah. Let us know in the comments. Do you notice the difference between busy Fifth Avenue? I just said one. But you notice also a lot less taller.
So one of the major differences here is that these buildings have apartments on top of them. So this is residential. Madison is residential and commercial, whereas Fifth Avenue is just commercial.
Right.
So this has a much more European feel to it, and they also have noise regulation. So you're not going to hear as many cars honking their horns or anything. So it tends to be, I think, much more luxurious to come up here to Madison Avenue to shop. And this is where a lot of the shops that our favorite Upper East Siders would shop at. And you can actually go in. They're usually very, very nice when you go in, and we're gonna explore a few of the shops.
It's amazing.
I mean, look at that window for Marino Rinaldi.
Beautiful. There's a hush to that area, says Christine.
Yeah.
Indeed.
You just feel like, to me, it's a serene oasis. Some people can feel very uncomfortable because the stores are so expensive. Like you go and try on a vest and you just think, oh, this is a nice vest. But then they're like, surprise, that vest is $20,000, which can really, really throw people. I mean, just look at like I'm gonna
Here, Monique.
get out of the way.
Chillier. Oh, you can pass, yeah.
Bit of Monique.
David says, you two are fantastic and brilliant. Loving this.
Oh my goodness. Fantastic and brilliant.
I love that. Thank you for the great reviews. I would put one caveat to this, because I know what you mean. It could get very expensive, but nowadays a lot of boutique stores that are reasonably priced but want to be in a place that's very fancy are here. One such store is Alex Mills, very nearby. There's a few other very good stores that is not that expensive that you can shop at. So you do have to search. You might bump into a place where it's a $20,000 dress.
No, it is also kind of sad because here on Madison Avenue, this used to be home to, so Blair's favorite accessory store was Bendel's. And now remember, the last season of Gossip Girl was in 2013. So that was almost 10 years ago. So much has changed. Bendel's no longer exists. There is no Bendel's. I cannot take you to Bendel's. Bergdorf, not Bergdorf Goodman, Barney's.
Barney's.
Barney's. There's a really like famous picture of Blair Waldorf and she's with all these bags on her hands.
Yeah.
And she's just gone shopping at Barney's, and Barney's no longer exists. It was here on Madison Avenue, but I can't take you there because it no longer exists. So it's kind of a very sad, in my opinion, to see.
It is sad because Barney's was the starting point for many famous designers.
It was. Now we are going to cross here. Got trademark New York City construction. Gotta love that.
Right.
But coming up ahead, we have a church. Actually, before we get to that church, this is a very important Blair Waldorf location.
Really?
This is Ladurée.
Oh, interesting.
Ladurée.
You mean lottery?
This is like horrible because, so my fiance is French Canadian.
Oh, cool.
And I've spoken French since I was like a little kid, although now I think my accent's morphing into more of a French Canadian accent. But I'm one of those annoying people who whenever I get to a French word, I'm like, oh, here we are at Ladurée. And I turn very, very French. So this is Ladurée, Paris. Which I did not go to while I was in Paris because like I know that I have one in New York City. But I find that this whole store is just really interesting. First of all, it's older than the Statue of Liberty. Thank you very much.
Really?
I believe it dates back to 1862.
But this location or just the store itself?
Just the store, Ladurée.
Okay.
Definitely not this location.
Okay.
But basically, there was a baker. His last name was Ladurée. He was also very much sort of like the Dan Humphrey of the day. He was a writer. He wrote poetry. He wrote plays. He wrote novels. He just wrote everything.
Excuse me. Yeah.
And he also baked. And he opened up a little bakery. I believe it was on Rue Royale in Paris. Rue Royale in Paris. And it was a nice bakery. People enjoyed the bakery. But then his grandson, I believe his name was Pierre Desfontaines, he came up with this wild and crazy idea. He actually came up with two wild and crazy ideas. So the first wild and crazy idea So these, by the way, I'm gonna fight everybody. These are not macaroons, they are macarons. There is only one O in it. A macaroon is something that's made out of coconut. That is a macaron.
It's not Macron, the Prime Minister?
No, it's not the Prime Minister. I just like my giant pet peeve is that they are called, they're called macarons and not macaroons.
Let's take a break and actually try.
Yes. So do you want me to run in and get them, or do you want?
No, I'll grab it because you have awesome stories.
I'll tell them.
Do you want to do Q&A? You just want Q&A
sure.
with sorry.
Maybe I should sit down over there so we don't get other people in the background of my.
Do you want a Q&A with Megan? Let us know in the comments.
And while
treat her nicely, please.
while we get the macarons. I will tell some stories of Ladurée. Let's see.
Okay, I'll be back.
Rob says Q&A, yes.
Ask Megan all the cool questions. She's a New York City tour guide. She knows everything about New York, but ask her about Upper East Side specifically or Gossip Girl.
Everything.
And
I know
I'll put my
everything.
bag right next to you just in case.
Okay. Somebody says, it's Tripax, it's Rob. Said that he learned the difference about the macarons and the macaroons on a food tour, which everybody should take. No Q, just A. Okay, so I will tell you more about the cookie that Pierre Desfontaines came up with. So what we know today as a macaroon or a macaron, it's like these two tiers of like a meringue cookie. And it's usually filled with something in the middle so that it makes a sandwich. Originally, you just got the meringue cookie. There was no sandwich, there was no filling. It was just the top part or just the bottom part. And Pierre Desfontaines was like, what if I put something yummy in the middle and I make it a sandwich? So that's how the two-tiered macaron came about, and that was very specifically at Ladurée. So they invented that, and that's why people love to come here to get those cookies. The other thing that I think is so revolutionary about Ladurée, and that I think like really relates it to Gossip Girl, is that back in in the 1930s, Ladurée opened up. Oh, someone said, what is your favorite Gossip Girl episode or scene from the series? It's Victor Victrola. It's when Blair gets up on the stage and shows Chuck Bass her moves. I love that one. So in the 1930s and earlier than the 1930s, men could go to smoking rooms and they would, smoke their cigars, they would drink their whiskey, and they would have like a social time. But there really wasn't the equivalent for women. Women could invite people to their homes, maybe entertain in their parlors, but they couldn't actually go out someplace and really enjoy time with other women. Pierre Desfontaines decided that Ladurée would be that place for women. So he opened up a tea room. And that tea room was the very first place that women could come and interact with their friends outside of their own homes. That lady just had some exciting things to say. And I think that that's something that Blair Waldorf, because she was so obsessed with being a powerful woman, would have really, really appreciated. Now, Ladurée is the favorite macaron of Blair Waldorf, and the macaron is the favorite treat of Blair. There's a really funny scene where she's trying to cleanse herself of Chuck Bass, and the way that she's trying to do that is to do a Chuck Bass cleanse, so she's just shoving the macaron cookies in her face. Let's see, Ron TV says that he would love a blueberry pie right now. Oh, Rob asked, what is the best flavor? I'm very curious what Ariel's gonna get. My favorite flavor, I always get the rose. I always get a rose and a dark chocolate. And there's also a flavor called the Marie Antoinette, which is very nice. Oh my goodness.
Got the goods.
We got the goods. This is so fancy. Okay, first of all, this is definitely used. I'm going to, let's scooch. Gonna move my bag. Shove it in here. So this, like, you'll see Blair eating out of boxes. I see that we got a box.
Did all of you treat Megan with the utmost royal respect a la Blair Waldorf?
They were so mean. No. We have to banish them now. They're all going to be socially banished. So yeah, Blair will have like these boxes and she'll just be shoving the macarons into their face. Let's see. Wait, did I put this upside down? Oh, no.
This one should not go upside down because this was not the macarons. This will probably be another decadent
I just ruined it.
pastry that they would try.
Ruin it. I didn't really ruin it. It's still very decadent and beautiful.
Look at that. So we're going to try this one, but we're also going to try the classic.
Macarons.
Yeah.
Okay. So what flavors did we get? They were asking about the flavors.
So the flavors we end up getting is coffee.
Coffee.
We have raspberry.
Raspberry.
I did not get the super fancy ones.
Oh, no worries.
Pistachio. I got a classic.
So I'm gonna have to eat the pistachio because this is the one that
yours.
Blair Waldorf eats. I don't know if we have a picture. Can I see the? I might have put a picture in there. Did I get? Yes. There
cool.
she is eating her pistachio. That's the ones that she always eats. Do I look just like her?
Yeah. You almost had the same type of hairstyle.
I mean, true story. I may or may not tell my hairstylist that I want to look like Blair Waldorf.
Oh, there we go.
Pretty much everything about me has been trying to become Blair Waldorf.
You're witnessing the transformation.
So yeah, I may have practiced that.
I'm too smiley to be Chuck, but I'm gonna try. Be more serious in this broadcast.
So cheers.
Cheers. I'll try a little piece of this one, the coffee one. Cheers. Wow. It's super soft. That's what I really love about these guys.
So one of the things that, this is just an opinion. This is not like deep culinary knowledge. I do not have deep culinary knowledge. Just want to share that. But I find that a lot of macarons can be very sugary, like they're just too sweet.
Yeah.
And I feel like this one gets like a nice balance between the sugar and the whatever other, it's basically sugar and egg, but the filling and the flavors I think really balance that well.
It truly does have that great combination. The flavor actually tastes like coffee in this one. That one I assume will actually taste like real pistachios. But it is real pistachios.
Yeah, it's very light. It's like a light pistachio.
I did not want to get the Marie Antoinette because I tried that when I went to Paris back in 2019. It was probably one of the worst things I've ever tried.
That's so funny. I literally just told them it was my favorite one.
Oh, is your favorite one? Oh, that's funny. Why do you like it?
That's so interesting. Well, first of all, I'm gonna steal some water.
Yeah, go for it. That's yours.
That's okay. Now, I just want to warn everybody
Decadent lifestyle we're doing.
that I
sparkling
very
water.
often get my lipstick all over my face when I drink water. So,
Sparkling water, nectar of the gods.
so if I remember correctly, the Marie Antoinette is like a rose and a tea combined.
Yeah.
Do you like rose as a flavor?
I do not. No.
That's
not
why
while
you
eating
don't.
it.
That's why you don't like the Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, and it has that little crunch to it, which I'm not sure what it is.
So the rose, like I love rose as a flavor, and one thing that Ladurée has is a lot of.
All yours.
Oh,
yeah.
merci beaucoup.
Yeah.
They have a lot of rose flavored things, like a rose flavored croissant that you can get.
They do, yeah. That's interesting. A rose flavored croissant. Well, here they also have pastries. So if you don't want to spend $3 per macaron, you can get yourself.
They are expensive,
yeah.
which I
They're
think
cheaper in Paris, actually. I think.
I didn't go in Paris. I ate all the cheese.
Ah, nice.
I did do something.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is like me promoting something. I did a cheese and wine pairing when I was in Paris. It was with parole de fromage, and it was spectacular. Like, I would recommend that to anybody who goes. And I learned all about, maybe you already know all this. I didn't know this. I eat a lot of cheese. I didn't know a lot about cheese. Like, if you smell the cheese and then you break the cheese and you smell the inside where you broke it, there's a totally different scent.
Ooh, that's interesting.
And I learned how to smell my wine and twirl my wine. I don't know. It was very fascinating.
Should I be including Paris in my European trip? Let me know.
Where are you going?
It's a secret. I'm going to both places that are very iconic and places that are underrated.
Oh.
And a place that is very, very far away from everything else. So you have a few hints.
Ariel's definitely going to Paris. Big
There's a lot of
secret.
places all around. Let's try the pastry.
Yes. All right. Do you want to cut into it, or should I
You cut it so I can do the nice close
This
up.
is so much pressure. Should I just cut into it like right there?
Yeah, right there, yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna crack, I think, and blow up
Okay.
in our faces.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Ah! I feel like I need a knife.
Yeah.
No, this is a fork. I know my utensils.
Oh my god.
Whoa.
Oh, it's oozing. Look at that. It's like an alien movie.
Whoa.
So this is a pecan puree, plus everything else is pecan. Like, it's all pecan. Different ways of pecan.
Oh, that's so funny. I say pecan.
Or like in When Harry Met Sally, pecan pie.
Pecan pie.
Pecan pie.
Oh, I just stole a bite.
Let us know if you know that scene. It's a very famous scene in When Harry Met Sally.
If you come to New
Yeah.
York City for Thanksgiving
Yeah.
and you want to like impress everybody at like your potluck dinner, bring these. I just did a little taste of it. It's like the pecan pie of dreams.
Let's try it out. Let's go.
Oh my goodness.
And also, someone just mentioned I don't like doing nuts. Don't worry, there's a lot of nut-free things inside there. Don't worry, you don't need to go knee-deep in nuts in Ladurée.
Okay.
I'm so excited for this. I love pecan. It's something very New York, but this is a very French pastry.
I also don't look cute eating. I'm just gonna warn you.
Oh my god. Wow. I'm about to have an affair with this pecan pie.
I'm just gonna run away with it. No.
Run away with it. Like this is like basically like a Roma version of pie.
Oh my goodness.
This is something you run away to the south of France for.
I know I want to say something that I can't say.
I'll do the jokes of alluding to adulterous activities.
Like, if Roma reminded me of this, I could see why you would run away to France.
David says, you always look cute. Thank you, David.
He has to say that. He's my fiance.
Oh, that's your fiance. Oh, awesome.
So
Shout out to David. Thank you so much for
he's
tuning in.
also, if you like my TikToks,
Yeah.
he is in many ways half the mastermind. Like, I'm on the
cool.
camera,
Okay.
but he helps me figure out how to like say everything in the most entertaining way. He often holds the camera and is like doing all the camera work. So anytime you actually see my face, he's usually there on the other end helping me with that. So
Excellent camera work. Check out right now The Megan Daily, it is, with the THE. The Megan Daily on TikTok. And I love how it's filmed because you do show a lot of the space, but it also feels like you're hanging out with the tour guide.
yeah,
Yeah, which is
that's
nice.
what he and
And
I
feel
just
free
want
to
to give
grab
him
more.
Oh yeah. I just feel like I want to
before
give
I eat it
him
all.
give him credit because it has my name on it, but as the Megan Daily, but he's very often there being like, oh, this will help you like grab attention because it'll make it seem like you're just hanging out with a tour guide instead of like I am tour guide giving facts. I know things.
So we're going to talk more about Gossip Girl in a little bit, like in 5 minutes. But before we do, how is it being a tour guide in New York City?
I will tell you when I'm done eating this piece of pecan.
Oh my god. So let me describe it. It's very soft, but you have that crunchiness of the shell, but it has a whipped cream flavor all around. And inside you have what's very similar to a pecan pie. It's very kind of sugary, brown sugar punch to it. And you have this popcorn, which I'm not sure what it is necessarily. It might be toasted pecans. Oh. Toasted pecans right there.
It's like covered in gold too, which feels very Blair.
They look covered in gold, yeah.
So to answer the question, what's it like being a New York City tour guide? First of all, it changed, like just the act of being a guide, changed my relationship with the city. I feel like I lived in New York City for 10 years before I became a guide. And I didn't know like any of the history. I was just kind of like, I don't care, there's two tall buildings, the Empire State and the Chrysler Building. But then to like really learn about the buildings and like why like they're different and why that's significant and what the cool events are and what the cool neighborhoods are and where to find the best foods. That made living in New York City so much better for me. I also love that I get to meet people from all over the world. Like, and literally like all different beliefs, all different countries, all different socioeconomic statuses. And it, even though I try to travel, but I don't, like you really travel, like you travel all over the world. But I feel like I get to like really interact with the world through seeing New York City through the eyes of a Croatian pharmacist or the 76ers basketball team or a group of seniors from Canada or elementary school students visiting from New Jersey. So I think that's really, really interesting.
And dignitaries as well, right?
Dignitaries, royalty.
Let's put this in the box, yeah.
Politicians.
Wow. Can you mention a few? Or
Yeah. I mean, I've given tours to the Saudi Arabian royal family, the 76ers basketball team, Susan Sarandon. My colleague, my very good colleague, gave a tour to Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. I work at One World Observatory.
Yeah.
And she was the one that showed them around One World Observatory. I'm trying to think.
Wow, Meghan Markle as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, they were apparently absolutely lovely.
Oh, cool.
Tiffany Trump came in.
Oh, wow.
I think that Marco Rubio came in. We get a lot of Republicans who come in. Yeah, so it's just kind of cool. Some of the most memorable ones, though, so something that's very interesting is, you know, I was a history major in college. And I'm a performer. So I sing opera. I'll be in a concert tomorrow afternoon. So I view the world through the eyes of a female performer / historian. But then I'll get people on my tours who are like a welder. And they want to know all about like the welding of the side of that building. And I'm like, I've literally never thought about the welding of the side of that building. But to realize that to somebody else, that is the most important thing about the city. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I have to research everything I can about welding.
Yeah, that's how I feel with live video. I have people who tune in who are like rock experts. And I realized, oh, wait a minute, there's a lot more detail to learn about the different rocks used in architecture.
I gave a tour to like someone who was here for an asphalt convention. Like they owned a quartzite quarry.
Oh, interesting.
And they were here for an asphalt convention to talk about the roads. And I was like, I have literally never thought once about the type of asphalt that was used on Madison Avenue or on the West Side Highway or Broadway. It just never even occurred to me that that was something to think about. But when you have these like tourists coming in, sometimes they're chefs, sometimes they're foodies, sometimes they are physically, like they have trouble getting around physically. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is really not the most accessible of all cities. But you see everything through just a different lens, which I think has expanded my worldview so much. And then it gives me something that I can share with other people as well. So I feel every guest like leaves their mark on the city, and then I can share it with the next guest.
How did you end up getting into private tours? Because a lot of tour guides do the large public tours.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about that.
Because since you've done tours with very high status guests,
Yeah, it's kind
how
of...
did you get to that level?
I feel like I had like a very kind of circuitous route.
Yeah.
The very first tours I gave was ghost tours. And the only reason I gave that was because I had to get a job and I was whining about how I didn't want to work. And somebody said, my best friend, the one I was visiting in Paris actually, just said, oh, well, I give ghost tours and I like giving ghost tours. It's not horrible, so you should give ghost tours. And I gave ghost tours and it wasn't horrible. And I met another guy named Matthew Baker, and we work together a lot, me and Matthew Baker. Like if I'm not available, I usually recommend him and vice versa. And apparently he had never seen a guide so promising since himself when he saw me giving a ghost tour. So he really took me under his wing, and he got me involved with a company that does a lot of private customized tours called the Levy's Unique New York, which is kind of like morphed over the course of the pandemic. But what they really do is they do hop-on guide tours, which is where you would come with like your high school class, and then a guide would hop onto the bus for 4 hours and give you like a highlights tour. But there'd also be people who just were like, I want a Jay and Silent Bob Sights of New Jersey tour, or I want a Gossip Girl tour, or I want a Tacos of Harlem tour. And they just say, who's available and can you put it together? And it was very stressful, because it's very stressful to be like, I have to give a Tacos of Harlem tour tomorrow, and how do I make this be a tour that I would be happy taking and paying the money for? But it also like really expanded my knowledge about the city, and my ability to also, and when I say my ability, I think that every, like the guides that I work with and that I've learned from all have this ability. So like not only are you like, I'm learning all the information I can about Harlem and about tacos, but now I'm giving it to Croatian pharmacists. So how do I give this information to them? Or now I'm giving it to a bachelorette party, or now I'm giving it to an 8-year-old boy, or now I'm giving it to, you know, the rock expert. And how do you kind of like change and morph that information for each person and each different group so that it's interesting to them? So like, for example, if I'm giving a Gossip Girl tour to a family, but only one person has ever seen Gossip Girl, you have to make the tour interesting to people who, which I hope if you have it.
You have to change the context, yeah.
So like, you know, I could just talk about Blair and Serena all day,
Right.
But if you're with 3 people who have never seen the show, well, can we throw in some history about Ladurée? Can we throw in some history about Audrey Munson and kind of like connect all this stuff together?
That's why I like tour guides who go off script, because there's certain tour guides, understandably so, stick to a very strict script. But it seems like you are more malleable.
I've never worked from a script. I've never had a script.
Okay.
I will sometimes write scripts out for myself, just so I find that it's, for me, because it's all telling a story, right? Tour guiding is telling a story. If you just want facts, you can go onto the Wikipedia page and you can like read everything about Madison Avenue. But like similar to like Lin-Manuel Miranda when he did Hamilton, he was like, I wanted to like find like the personal stories. So how do I find this interesting? How do I make this exciting? How do I make this relatable? How do I make it hop off this page? So I find that writing it out helps me make those stories. But I basically, I guess, have all these different stories, and then I just put them together in different ways or have different ways of telling them. But I've never had a like, this is my Fifth Avenue tour, and I say off to the right it's this, and I can't divert from that.
Exactly, yeah.
For me, it's all about like, and if you know we're giving this tour and you're like, oh JK, I want to veer off and talk about the sea lion at the Central Park Zoo, we're like, okay, we're not talking about Gossip Girl anymore. We're doing the Central Park Zoo.
Yeah, because sometimes you have people in the tour group that keep asking questions about unique topic.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, this person really loves architecture. This person really loves the salacious stories or the haunted stories.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about giving different tours, I learned this through live video, because especially in my first 4 years of live video, I would do a different history tour every single week or twice a week. Was that the more history you learn, the better stories you can tell, because you start finding interesting connections that you would have not found otherwise.
Yeah.
And serendipities and coincidences that make for a very good story.
So what's a tour you'd love to give and still haven't? I would have to remember everything, but at one point in time, I had a Hercules Mulligan tour that I really, really, really wanted to give, because I just think Hercules Mulligan is so cool.
It's so specific.
But nobody wanted my Hercules Mulligan tour.
He's the tailor of George Washington, by the way. That might have been the spy.
And
most likely was.
And I did have me and another guide who I work with. His name is John. I just feel like I want to mention these guides that I love so much because they don't get enough credit in life.
Oh yeah.
But another guide that I love, his name is Jonathan Tourer. His last name is actually Tourer.
Oh, interesting. He was born for it.
I know. It's Turer.
Okay.
So he's another one that I work closely with, and the three, Matt Baker, Jonathan, and I were just kind of are always relating. But we had kind of put together a Revolutionary War spy thing at one point in time. We were very excited about spies in the American Revolution. So that's one that I would like to do. Also, remember, I'm having a cocktail.
That one's a very fascinating topic.
Yeah.
I did that in Setauket about 2 years ago. Yeah, I passed through the spy sites of Setauket in Long Island. So George Washington had his spies centered in Setauket, Long Island, including one that was murdered over here. Yeah.
Someone wrote, Gossip Girl was the reason I visited New York for the first time. And this is just another thing that
cool.
I personally find very interesting, having just taken a vacation, is the different reasons why people travel and why they pick certain locations.
Exactly.
So we can
continue on learning about Gossip Girl. So excited.
And I feel like I first visited France because I was obsessed with Les Mis, the musical, and the novel. Yeah. But some people come because they love shopping. Some people come because they love food. I think that it's getting a little colder. All right, so I'm gonna put stuff in my backpack too.
So check out Ladurée or
Ladurée.
Ladurée.
I mean,
that's hard to pronounce. Check it out. It's really good. Here in Madison. There's also a big one in Soho that I recommend checking.
Oh, yes. A much bigger. I was telling them about the tea rooms and how that was the very first place where ladies could actually socialize. It was created as a place for ladies to socialize, similar to a gentleman's smoking room.
Fascinating.
Okay, so off to the right, we have this church. This is St. James Church. St. James Church dates back, the congregation dates back to 1810. Now this church was originally, well, first of all, I'll mention how it relates to Gossip Girl. This is where Louis and Blair get married. There might be a picture of the inside. Let's see, yes. So that's the inside of the church. Louis and Blair get married inside of this church. I loved when they got married, when that relationship started.
How old were they in the show by that time?
I don't even know.
Did they go to college ever, or was it all high school?
They did go to college. There was a whole thing where Blair graduated high school. She really, really, really wanted to go to one specific school. She didn't get in. It was very dramatic. She ended up going to NYU for a bit, and then she transferred to Columbia. And I don't know that she graduated from college. And I don't know that the college...
Let's go inside.
Oh, can we go inside? This is very exciting.
Yeah, it's rare when these... this is Episcopal, most likely. It's rare when these Episcopal churches are open. After you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
I always walk into churches anytime I see it open.
It was beautiful inside.
Oh, yeah.
Look at it. essentially, this church, I'm going to whisper because I feel weird talking too loud, was created as being a church for wealthy. Was created as being a place for wealthy New Yorkers to worship when they were living up here in their summer homes outside of the city. Now wait, but we're in the city. We're on the Upper East Side. But as Ariel mentioned earlier, it wasn't until 1811 that the commissioner plan came out to even put New York City on the grid. So what was considered New York City really didn't extend, like 4th Street, maybe. So this area was really considered the suburbs. So if you were wealthy, you would go outside of the city. If you were in the city, things were very crowded. The air quality was very yucky. If one person caught yellow fever, everybody caught yellow fever. So in the summertime, you would want to be out of the city. You would want to be up in the suburbs on like 70, what we know today as 70th Street. So this was originally put here for the wealthy families to worship during the summertime.
Oh, wow.
And it's still an active church. And I believe that John Steinbeck's funeral took place inside of this church.
It's beautiful.
Blair Waldorf's wedding and John Steinbeck's funeral.
We have a wooden ceiling.
It's so pretty.
Very English style.
I wish I had a deep thing to say about the inside of the ceiling, but I don't.
And gorgeous rose window right there. Look at that.
And the pipe organ.
Wow.
I just found out, David, my fiance, told the Macy's, I believe in Philadelphia, if he's still on, he'll be able to say, has a pipe organ in it.
Oh, fascinating.
A giant, giant pipe organ.
Let's check out this bell. Oh, so right here, just to show the image.
Oh, yeah.
They would have been married right there. There we go.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It is, yeah. What is this? The St. James's original bell back in 1811. Oh, when they made the grid system.
Yeah. In 1810, a small wooden church was built in Hamilton Square. I don't know if that's if that's okay. It feels funny between holding the mic, holding the sparkling water, dressed as Blair.
That's something Blair would do, to be honest.
She totally would.
When she would be drinking a little bit too much at night.
She'd probably have champagne. She'd be like, remember when I was married to Louis? It was so bad. That
Right here we have a little chapel. Sappy door. Oh, this is. They have people buried here, entombed.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. New York City is filled with so many awesome places.
I've never been in this area.
Yeah, it's always worth walking into churches, and down below there might be more. Yeah.
I wonder if that has any relation. Oh, I probably shouldn't touch that. I'm a horrible human.
It just opens. Yeah, I wonder if it is related to
Suddenly it turns into Stranger Things instead of Gossip Girl.
All right, walk into St. James's Church right over here. Beautiful.
They had the Ukraine flag as well. Okay, then we're going to continue to walk north. I'll put this back on my dress.
And doesn't say what church it is, but let's see.
St. James.
No, but I mean, is it Episcopal or Presbyterian?
Oh.
Let us know.
I always feel like this is my biggest weakness as a guide, is I'm not good with like the different churches and the different like Episcopal or Presbyterian or Catholic.
You're in luck because I've been asked many times by a church group to do private tours for them, and I've done it. Those same tours also on Urbanist. And then in Europe, I'm always walking to churches. So
yeah, I always find them to be the one church that I have like such a strong connection to, and it's so cliche, but is Notre Dame in Paris. I just, because I was a little kid, and I cried so hard when it burned. Now I do want to talk about this building, but I think we're going to get a better view of it from across the street.
Okay.
Because right now we just see scaffolding. And it would be nice to not see scaffolding.
S. Fields, thank you so much. It's an Episcopal church.
Okay, so first of all, this is Ralph Lauren. Ralph Lauren, do you know the story of Ralph Lauren?
Yes, I do, but do recap us because it's very interesting.
I just think he has such a fun story. So he was his family were immigrants. They actually had the last name of Lifshitz. So he was Ralph Lifshitz. He and his brother, I believe it was his brother Lenny Lifshitz, when they were 16, changed their last name from Lifshitz to Lauren because they were being teased relentlessly in school.
Yeah.
Now, he really got into the fashion industry by designing neckties for Beau Brummel. And his neckties were done in the polo style. I believe were I forget if they were thinner or thicker than normal neckties, but they were a different width than normal neckties. And then Brooks Brothers loved those neckties. They bought the neckties, and people were like, "Wow, these neckties are amazing. Too bad I don't have a suit to go with everything." And eventually, he ended up becoming such a great designer that he actually designs the uniforms for the U.S. Olympic team.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I'm really big into the figure skating in the Winter Olympics. So I'm very
That's cool.
interested.
I didn't realize he did it for the Olympic team.
Yes. Yeah, the last couple of years, or the last couple of Olympics, the uniforms have all been Ralph Lauren.
Right.
So that's how like the polo label got its name, from the polo neckties. There's a bunch of different labels of Ralph Lauren. Now this one, if you look at this whole building, this used to be a single family home that belonged to Gertrude Waldo Rhinelander. This is known as the Rhinelander Mansion. So we were talking about like the giant mansions that were on the Upper East Side, used to be single family homes. Imagine that being your home. And when you go shopping inside of Ralph Lauren, and that one also was a single family home.
And that's the woman's shop.
The woman's shop, yeah. You have the woman and the men's. Now, the thing that gets Gossip Girl was not filmed in there. There was a scene in Gossip Girl that was filmed at the females version of Ralph Lauren. I don't know if anyone remembers the character of Raina Thorpe. For a brief period of time, she stole Chuck away from Blair. No. But I might actually have a picture of them shopping. Let me see. Yeah, it's right there.
Right here. There we go. Is that Raina?
That's Raina.
Okay.
Yeah, Raina Thorpe shopping inside of Ralph Lauren.
That's not Karl Lagerfeld in the back.
I don't know.
No, okay.
It might be.
That'll be an interesting cameo.
I mean, with Gossip Girl, you literally never know.
Right.
So yeah, she got that stunning dress, which is Ralph Lauren. They do a lot of Ralph Lauren inside in the Gossip Girl fashion. A lot of the favorite Blair and Serena look are from Ralph Lauren. But I just think it's interesting that these are both like inside of mansions, and also very, I don't know if it's sad, but this was designed for Gertrude Waldo Rhinelander, and she never moved in. She lived across the street. She never moved in. She was like, I built this giant house. I don't need it. And she never moved in.
And what came out of it? Like, what did it become?
It became Ralph Lauren.
Ultimately, yeah. And it's a beautiful store. Highly recommend walking into it.
Yeah, it can be a little, no, I don't know if you've had different experiences. Yeah. I personally, no, I'm not afraid of high-end stores. I'm a little too not afraid of high-end stores. If we cross, we'll go by Zimmerman, which is one of my Achilles heels. I love Zimmerman. But they are very, it can be very intimidating.
It can, yeah.
When you go inside of the Ralph Lauren stores. But it is beautiful because they do have it set up almost as though you're walking through somebody's home, somebody's home that happens to be selling beautiful high-end designer clothes. But it's kind of a cool experience.
Yeah, and they have all these paintings set up from Ralph Lauren's collection. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
S. Fields and a few other people asked a really, really good question. Was Anna Wintour ever on Gossip Girl, or did they have any other major cameos?
I do not specifically recall Anna Wintour. There were cameos, like Alec Baldwin played a very large role.
He's a famous New Yorker. Yeah.
Missoni, the daughter of the founder of Missoni, was in an episode of Gossip Girl, and Missoni is actually featured a lot on Gossip Girl as well, like in terms of their fashion. So she made a cameo on there. Hilary Duff. Hilary Duff plays a role, but I don't know that very specifically Anna Wintour was on. Now, I actually think if we cross the street.
Coran, thank you so much for becoming a super urbanist, a member. Thank you so much. Hearts to Coran. Stewart, thank you so much for becoming a super urbanist. I appreciate you. Let's go. Debbie watching from Colorado. Nice to see you here. Hello, Susie. Ole from Norway. Welcome. Let's see who else is tuning in. Classic menswear is Ralph Lauren. Indeed, he is. Emmanuel, nice to see you here. This may suddenly turn into a ghost tour, says David. Though there are some ghost stories here. No, today we're sticking to real life Gossip Girl.
Okay, so if we kind of look across the street, we have the house that was Nate's, and I think I have a picture of the inside.
Oh, beautiful. Wow.
So oftentimes in Gossip Girl, so we mentioned that they don't use any, most of the interiors for Gossip Girl are filmed at a sound stage, which I believe that they used the Kaufman Studios for the sound stage, but they actually did use one Upper East Side building to be the building that was Nate Archibald's house. They filmed inside and outside, and also Michael Jackson stayed inside of this building for $75,000 a month while he was filming.
Wow, that
here
was
in
his
New York
rent?
City. That was his, well, he only stayed there for 1 month, but he paid $75,000 for that 1 month. So I just like to point out.
That's an expensive Airbnb.
I know, right? Also, Barbara Streisand's character in Prince of Tides.
Oh, cool.
Was there. So they like to, it's actually really fun to come here at Halloween because they always go all out at that house and they just dress it up wild and crazy for Halloween.
Linda, thank you so much for 200 stars. Wendy, nice to see you here. Hope you're doing well. Frank from the Philippines says, love the history tour. Kumusta ka, Frank? Thank you so much. Salamat po for tuning in.
So let us.
And then one more time. Megan Mermaid, paypal.me/Megan. Oh, no. The Megan. What was it again?
So
it's meganmermaid@gmail.com.
Yeah, for PayPal, it's meganmermaid@gmail.com.
Meganmermaid@gmail.com. Leave a PayPal right now if you're really enjoying this tour, or book a tour with Megan soon. All right.
And I have a very slow website that we're working on making less slow. I don't know why it's so slow. I want to go bald, tearing my hair out when I'm working on it. So
the lady that helps me out
Yeah.
with my website said that I basically just need to find a different hosting platform. So.
Sorry, I gotta film this. I buy very rare. These are very rare to see. Fully albino pigeon.
So somebody told me, and I don't know if you can tell me if you can confirm this or not, that pigeons and doves are basically the same animal.
They are, yeah, the same species. They are, just
So-
like a different. They're very closely related.
So let's circle back to Madison. We'll wind back to end up at the Met Steps, which is possibly the most iconic Gossip Girl site that there is.
Oh yes, there is. Yes, and that's where everyone takes the selfies.
Yes. Now, I was actually very sad
Yeah.
because another location that we would often take people to on these tours is called Dylan's Candy Bar. It's actually a candy shop that was inspired by Willy Wonka or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it was founded by Dylan Lauren, who is Ralph Lauren's daughter. But that location has left the Upper East Side, and it's now at Hudson Yards. So if you want to go to Dylan's Candy Bar, you have to go to Hudson Yards. And
Is the location still next to Serendipity 3?
no, there's
No
no
longer
there's no
anymore.
Dylan's Candy Bar up here on the Upper East Side anymore. So that was another major. One of the things about Gossip Girl is that the city is a giant character in Gossip Girl, which is why as you're walking up and down these streets, I just think that I feel like Blair or Serena as I'm shopping. But because the city's always changing and always morphing, a lot of the sites that were used in filming, we just can't go to now because they don't exist. Now this is a very interesting Gossip Girl site. This is an Apple store. And if you look into this Apple store, now usually Apple stores have a very distinctive look.
Yes.
Close your eyes, imagine what you think what an Apple store looks like. And then look at this one. Does this look the way that you imagine an Apple store to look?
This one's a lot. They kept a lot more of the architectural details for this one.
Right.
And it looks more like a huge bank. Maybe?
Yes, it is a bank.
Okay.
This was a bank. I believe it was the Manhattan Trust Bank. Those are the original lights from that bank. And if you were to
Built in 1921.
If you were to go inside, they have a basement. And the basement's where they do their classes currently. And it literally looks like a giant vault. So you open up this vault and you're sitting in a vault. Oh look, we have a limousine.
So that's how we're ending the tour. We're gonna...
So yeah, they open up this vault and you sit in the vault and you have whatever class there is, or if for some reason you're having a private consultation at Apple, they will do it in that vault. But this was a landmarked building, which I'm sure you've covered as being, architecturally interesting, historically important, and no unnecessary changes can be made. So instead of getting rid of the vault, they were we have to keep this vault. So now the vault is our special event space.
And they had to keep that huge, heavy door.
And to keep the huge heavy door, they had to keep the lanterns, and they have to maintain those lanterns as well, which costs, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Now, right now looking at this, it's an Apple store, it's a bank. It was also used as a bank in Gossip Girl. And I do have a picture. So it is this picture that they filmed inside in the basement of this Apple building. There was a scene where Serena's trying to get information about her mother, and they have to go into the security deposit box inside of a bank. So they were all filmed in the lower level. Now, if you're looking, I don't know how well you can see it in the photo, but if you are watching it, if you go back and watch that episode, you won't see anything that says Apple. You won't see anything that says the name of the original bank because they CGI'd it out. And that happens a lot with Gossip Girl. For example, Constance, which is the filming location is further north than we're going to go, but they basically used the Museum of the City of New York
as Constance, and they just like CGI'd out anything that was identifying as the name of the museum, or sometimes they use Spence. There's a high school called Spence, and they'll just like CGI out anything that says Spence, and they'll make it look like Constance.
Wow, so they had a larger budget towards the latter seasons.
Yeah. Well, I think that even at the beginning season, because Constance was always
I see.
always the museum.
Right now, this is the Madison Frick, but it used to be known as the Brewer Building.
And just to this, we're a little further north than the Frick Mansion, but I will mention the name Frick comes from Henry Clay Frick, who was a very interesting character. He kind of was like a Bart Bass character, in my opinion. So Bart Bass was Chuck Bass's dad, and he's just like a ruthless businessman.
Yeah.
Now, Henry Clay Frick worked with, now I'm curious how you say it. Do you say Carnegie or do you say Carnegie?
Carnegie, yeah.
Okay, I was like, I never know how to say it because I feel like I sound very pretentious being like Carnegie. Because we're so used to saying like Carnegie Deli or Carnegie Hall, but it was actually Carnegie.
Carnegie, yes. That's more of the high-end Upper East Side accent.
So pulling a Marilyn Monroe. So he worked with Carnegie. We can go. Very closely, and this was like Carnegie Steel was one of the very first places. We could keep walking up one more this way. Was one of the very first areas where you had like an owner and a manager. So Carnegie was the owner, but he was able to kind of separate himself from day-to-day operations of Carnegie Steel. Whereas Henry Clay Frick, he was the man who was like actually kind of creating the working conditions, for example, for the workers. And he really hated unions. He worked very hard to bust unions. He was known for like bringing people in to shoot protesters who were trying to promote unions and making a living wage. And there was a huge accident where there was a giant flood in a town that was really due to things that corners, maybe that Henry Clay Frick cut. Then it was associated with Carnegie Steel, but Henry Clay Frick was the man who got punished for all of that.
And Gary, who's tuning in from Scotland, says he was a good Scotsman. Like a few, actually, of the robber barons had Scottish ancestry.
I didn't know he was Scottish, so thank you for that bit of information. Yeah, so actually I just recently found out that on his deathbed, like basically...
Is this one of the scenes from Gossip Girl?
I feel like this is one of the scenes from the new Gossip.
Yeah, you're right. That's the teacher.
Well,
the woman.
I will say that the new Gossip Girl gets like much more progressive with their relationships and what they show on screen. So that's why I said that.
Okay.
But at any rate, Henry Clay Frick and Carnegie had this huge falling out. And apparently on Carnegie's deathbed, he wrote a letter to Henry Clay Frick that was like, oh, I'm so sorry for basically making you the villain in this whole story. And Henry Clay Frick wrote, I'll see you soon in hell, where we're both going. Which to me, I mean, I just always tell this story.
What the frick?
I'll see you soon in hell,
where
we're both going. Which to me, that whole story is very, very Gossip Girl. You know, friends who have a huge falling out, they're blaming each other for different things. But there is also another museum called the Frick Collection, which is Henry Clay Frick's very sensible single-family home,
Yes.
which he actually designed to look like a museum because he was nearing the end of his life and he collected art. So let us go this way as we get to the Met.
We're going to the Met Museum.
Yes.
So the Frick Museum is just a few blocks away.
Yes.
Was that ever featuring Gossip Girl?
It was not. The museum that was featured was the Cooper Hewitt Museum of Design. And there's a scene.
So for reference, what street is that? That's a little bit further up.
That's further. Yes.
Yeah.
Like to say, but spread out. So you definitely need your comfortable walking shoes.
Right.
The other thing is to like let yourself actually have an Upper East Side experience.
Sorry to interrupt, but you also need to put your dog in the purse so it doesn't get too tired.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Very true. Well, Blair Waldorf had a bulldog. So
really? Okay, that's funny.
She had a bulldog. What was his name? I'm forgetting his name. I'm the worst Gossip Girl fan ever. Does anyone remember his name? Oh my goodness. But he was so cute. But he actually got walked. Dorota walked him. I personally would have a corgi who would never put up with being in a purse. But yeah, let yourself have the Upper East Side experience. Go into the stores. If you go into Alice and Olivia, they'll give you champagne sometimes, which is really, really great. That's like an experience. Yeah. And I feel like when you go into the stores, you're really treated, like on Madison Avenue, they really pamper you. On Fifth Avenue, I feel like they're like, whoa, so many tourists. But on Madison Avenue, they treat you like you were Blair or Serena walking in. And I think that that's something, like that's an experience that you can have where you will leave feeling like you actually walked in the footsteps of Blair and Serena or any of your favorite characters, Georgina Sparks.
Oh, that's amazing. To Alice Olivia, maybe get yourself a bottle of champagne, a cup of champagne. Slam that like button right now if you're enjoying this video, or if you're on Facebook, share this video with relevant Facebook groups. We're going to our very last stop on the tour, right? Is this the last one?
Yes, this is the last one.
The most iconic spot for all of Gossip Girl.
And it feels like it's just in time because it's going to start raining.
It is.
I feel like coming. The weather changed very, very quickly, which is the other thing. If you are planning a trip to New York, you're going to want to pack in layers.
Right. That is very true. Yes, always pack in layers. Bring yourself a nice $2,000 cardigan if you're a guy.
Yeah. You need like a cravat. You need a cravat or like one of those scarves. Or one of those scarves that you just wear along the side. If you want to really pull a Chuck or a Nate, you're going to need to have bright colors.
Yes.
Lots of very bright colors. And there are some other places that like, if you really want to have that experience. So I like to go to Ladurée. It's like an easy, quick stop. You get a taste of Gossip Girl. But you can also go to a restaurant such as Butter, which was one of Blair Waldorf's favorite restaurants. Gramercy Tavern was her favorite restaurant. It can be a bit pricey, but you're really like treating yourself to that Gossip Girl experience. And if you're somebody who...
Still open as well.
It is. Yeah. And if you're somebody who is like coming to New York City because of Gossip Girl, let yourself experience the city like those characters.
Right.
You know, you can splurge sometimes. You know, you can't eat every meal at Per Se because
do they go to Per Se?
They don't go to Per Se.
But for reference, Per Se is one of the top high-end restaurants in all of New York City. 3 Michelin stars, I think it still has.
Yeah. That's like the one kind of baller restaurant in New York City I have eaten at.
Yeah.
It's spectacular. It's actually like you're a little overwhelmed because you're like, oh, it's $350 per person.
And that's a good price for a super high-end restaurant that's 3 Michelin stars.
You're going to leave thinking it was the best bargain of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have $350 to spend on most meals, but like if you're here because you want that Gossip Girl experience, let yourself have one of those meals at least, you know. And you can go to, there's a really fun rooftop bar called Loopy Doopy. They never went to it in Gossip Girl, but it's basically a rooftop champagne bar where they give you popsicles to dip in your champagne. It's a boozy popsicle from Brooklyn.
and you get to see the Statue of Liberty. And to me, that feels very, very Gossip Girl. To me, that's like kind of living that experience.
So Evelyn says in Spanish, I'm going to read it in Spanish first. Qué bien a ver la alegría de Megan. ¿Cuál es la otra serie favorita tuyo? I really loved seeing Megan's very happiness on screen. What's your other favorite series outside of Gossip Girl? New York series.
Oh my goodness. David, are you still watching? What do I watch?
Let us know, David. What's Megan's other favorite series?
I mean, it's funny. That's a really good question. Oddly, I'm going to go with a weird answer. It's not really a series, but I really love the Marvel movies. And a lot of the Marvel movies are filmed, I mean, they have scenes that are filmed here, and it's like its own universe. But like, the Sanctum Sanctorum's on Bleecker Street.
Right. I hope that in the future Marvel movie they make the Frick building the Avengers Mansion again. So in the comic books, the Frick building, which we referenced earlier, was the Avengers Mansion in the comic books. But in the movies, it never was.
Yeah. I didn't know that. That's I learned something. Awesome.
So let me translate to Spanish. Megan dijo que la mejor series que ella gusta de Nueva York es las películas de Marvel, que son las películas de superhéroes, son bien buenas. And for me, my favorite series is How to Make It in America. Lasted 2 seasons on HBO, but covers a different part of New York, which is more Soho and Bushwick, Brooklyn. And it covers more of the hipster scene of the early 2010s. So it's around the same time as Gossip Girl, but different world. More of a real New York, because one character was Dominican American and the other one was Jewish American.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to watch. Like, I'm really bad at watching TV that's not Gossip Girl. It's kind of embarrassing. But there are a couple other series. There was a series that had it had like different love stories in it, and it was really sweet. I think Anne Hathaway played a character in it.
Oh, you're talking about the New York Times romance.
Yeah.
I forgot the name, but based on the column about modern love. Modern love.
I loved that. I thought that was really, really great.
So where are we right now?
So this, I'll move us a little away from the instrumentalists. So these are the famous Met steps. So in Gossip Girl, I don't know if I have a picture. I may have sent over a picture.
We'll do it in the corner over here.
Okay. One thing real fast to say before we get to the Gossip Girl section of this is that these steps were designed by Richard Morris Hunt. And I'm just curious, does anybody know anything else that Richard Morris Hunt designed? Anybody know?
Design something very famous, yeah. Do let us know. It's on the tip of my tongue. I actually don't know.
He designed the pedestal for the Statue of Liberty.
Ah, yes.
So I always think it makes me happy, because I give a lot of Statue of Liberty tours, that there's a connection between the Statue of Liberty and Gossip Girl. It's a long, like it's a stretch. It's a stretch. But the fact that the man who designed the pedestal was the man who designed the Met steps is enough of a connection for me to connect the two.
And then the crew came over here a lot in Gossip Girl.
Yes. So they would basically see. I gotta try to sit down. This is like the place to come and get your photo taken. You'd be like,
that'll be a good thumbnail. Let me sit down right there.
I can come closer too.
No, right there is perfect.
Okay. So the whole thing, right?
How well Chuck sat?
Well, this is basically, it's more of the girls that would sit here.
Oh, it's just the girls. The guys didn't come usually.
The guys, I don't have a vivid memory of the guys here.
Oh, okay.
It's mostly the girls, and the whole thing is like the queen would sit at the top. So right now I'm the queen, and you are my minion. That's literally, they called them minions.
Oh no.
So you're my minion now that you're sitting below me.
Was there a male minion character in the show?
No, you know the male who would come here was Eric. That's
okay.
That's Serena's brother.
Okay.
And he came here because he was best friends with Jenny. So that's Dan's sister. Jenny really wanted to be Queen Bee. One point she did become the queen. And she turned very mean when she was the queen. And one thing that they would do
Keep on talking.
is they would dump yogurt on the heads of girls that they didn't like.
Right.
So once she did dump yogurt on Eric's head. But sometimes he would come here to the Met steps and talk.
All right. So we are sitting at the iconic Met steps.
I feel so Gossip Girl right now in my dress on the Met steps.
Lori says, I took a picture sitting on the Met steps eating yogurt.
That's what they did. They ate yogurt. Like, that's the iconic thing. They would always, I don't know where they got the yogurt from. This has always bothered me about the series.
Was it frozen yogurt?
No, it was like a yogurt. It was almost like just like a plastic cup of yogurt, usually with berries on it.
And that wasn't really popular ever in New York. But I assume you can get it at like the health stores or the health bodegas.
But this is the problem. Where around here do you get that? I see hot dog stands. A lot of times we'll bring groups to this neighborhood just because, they'll want to stop off at the Met. And then they're like, where am I going to eat afterwards? And the answer is like, there's a pretzel vendor and a hot dog vendor, but there's no easy place to get yogurt.
So bring your own yogurt when you come here to the Met steps.
You definitely need to bring your own yogurt.
BYOY.
There used to be a really nice chocolate shop,
right.
But I think that one, it was Vosges chocolate, but it moved. There's a Levain bakery that isn't too far away, but it's like too far if you just want to like sit on the Met steps and gossip with your friends and then dump it on somebody's head if you don't like them.
And afterwards go into the Met Museum because it's worth it. So
yes.
Megan, thank you so much for touring us all through Upper East Side to learn about the history of Gossip Girl. That was amazing.
Thank you for having me. I hope that you had fun. I hope that you had fun and that you learned something and discovered something new to love about New York City. I know if you watch his videos, like, first of all, his brain is bigger than the 5 boroughs, and he's covered like every place in the 5 boroughs. So I hope that there was something new and fun for you to discover and that you got to feel a little bit like you were on the Upper East Side, like living the life.
XOXO. So yes, I do recommend going on one of Megan's tours. I'm very picky about my tour guides, and Megan truly is one of the best in the city.
There is a corgi right there.
There's a corgi.
Very friendly.
Say hi to the corgi.
Yeah, go for it.
Come say hi. I didn't realize you were like having a whole
Oh no! Can I say hi?
Yeah, this is Max, short for mac and cheese, our life's favorite food.
Mac and cheese, oh, I love it.
You can check him out on Instagram. He's the kosher corgi.
The kosher
Oh, cool.
corgi.
Corgi.
Oh, that's so cool that he's on Instagram.
Mookie,
Very beautiful.
don't eat that. Hey, Bubba, listen.
That's not kosher. Oh, that's so cool.
Okay.
Awesome. Have a great day, man.
Come on, man.
Anyway, you were singing my praises.
Check out Kosher Corgi, ladies and
Corgi,
gentlemen.
yeah, check him out.
So you were singing my praises.
Yes, I'm very picky about my tour guides because I've been on plenty of tours. I feature many tour guides. There's many excellent tour guides in New York City, but Megan's truly, I think, one of the best ones you should hire when you come here. Let's open up a Q&A for 5 minutes. Ask anything you would like for Megan. If we miss any questions, ask again right now. Slam that like button if you haven't already. Share this video with any Facebook groups that are relevant. And go to meganmermaid@gmail.com on PayPal and leave a tip if you enjoyed this and are unable to come to a tour. That's okay. Leave a tip if you want to. And what was filmed in Times Square? Any scenes filmed in Times Square?
I don't believe there were any Gossip Girl scenes filmed in Times Square watching not eating yogurt.
Yes. I just got to read S. Field's comment. She says, spotted Megan and Ariel in the steps, not eating yogurt. Scandalous.
Okay, Megan, what are all the different tour topics that you offer? So one of the things that you can do is you can go to my website, which again, we're working on making it not so slow, but it's themegandaily.com. So the Megan, M-E-G-A-N, daily.com. And I list all the ones that you can like very easily book.
And then I also do customized tours, so I can literally do anything. So like if you came and you said I want a Doctor Strange sites of New York City tour, like we'd put that together for you, and that would happen.
Hint, hint, ask for a Doctor Strange sites tour, so then I can film it, because that would be super epic.
Oh my goodness!
I've done it before. I've done it lightly before in Greenwich Village, but there's probably a few other sites since the movies come out that would be interesting.
But the ones just to like to kind of verbalize them. Statue of Liberty is always a popular one. I do a World Trade Center site tour. That one is one that I really love giving. I worked at One World Observatory for 6 years. So that one's like, I think, a very, very special tour. There's a Tribeca tour that I do, and then anything that involves food. So I always refer everyone to Scott Wiener if you want to do pizza, but I do a Lower East Side food tour where we talk about the immigration of the Lower East Side and how the different foods relate to it. And I feel like that's so interesting because when you travel,
that's a good one. I like that. Yeah,
it's something that you don't get from a book, like the actual taste of the foods. So I really love that one as well. And then Brooklyn Bridge. You have to do the Brooklyn Bridge.
Trip Hacks says, what is the second best tour after yours in NYC? So if you were to pick one of your own favorite tour guides, who it is, that in-person tour guides.
So one of the things is, not to sound too self-promoting, if you book through the Megan Daily, you can also get my other favorite guides. Like there's literally a form that you can fill out and specifically request them.
There we go. It's already curated for all of you.
So their names, and I know I'm going to get myself in trouble because I'm going to forget somebody. They're going to be like, you didn't mention me. But typically, Jonathan Tour, Matt Baker, and Matt Apter, and Gary Dennis are my favorite for customized tours. I love Scott Wiener's pizza tours. I recommend that to literally everybody, like coming to New York. And the other one that, if you love theater, there's a tour company called Broadway Up Close.
Yeah, I've seen their TikToks. They're really good. Yeah.
It's run by, like, I literally knew this guy before I knew he was a guide. We did The Wizard of Oz together. So Tim Dolan is a performer, and he gave a tour to the entire cast of The Wizard of Oz, and it included Ken Jennings, not the Jeopardy guy, but the original Toby in Sweeney Todd. And we were all just like, our minds were blown. They were so good. Like Broadway alumni, people who had never seen theater before, just minds were blown. So I always refer people to Scott for pizza, and I always refer people to Tim for theater, and I won't even do them. I'll just like, don't come to me. You want to go to these two people.
That's amazing. There we go. You got 2 extra tips right there. And then what's your favorite landmark in New York City?
Oh my.
Which one do you keep visiting?
I mean, it sounds so cliche. You can't, like, the Statue of Liberty, I always get excited every time I see her. But I'm currently really drawn to Cleopatra's Needle because I'm on this Egypt kick.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like behind us right now. So I'm currently very drawn to that.
If you're very drawn to that, then visit the 2 other obelisks that are completely perfectly aligned with Cleopatra's Needle.
Is that one in Paris?
No, it's here in New York. It's aligned with, yes. So you can see my TikTok video on Facebook as well. But it's aligned with the obelisk of General Worth that's in front of the Flatiron. And it's also aligned with Emmett's obelisk right next to St. Paul's Chapel in Lower Manhattan. Take out a map, perfectly aligned.
I never knew this. This is so amazing.
All put up by Freemasons. So there we go.
This is so amazing.
So I agree. I love that landmark. Yeah, there's so many awesome landmarks in New York City. One of my favorite landmarks is Grant's Tomb. That's actually underrated. A lot of people don't go.
It was once the most visited landmark in New York City.
Benji says, more tours with Megan. Yes, I would love that. I'll be back in fall, so maybe we'll do something else later in fall.
I would love that.
That'd be awesome.
I've had so much fun, and I'm such a fan that I'm kind of fangirling right now.
We're going to do a TikTok crossover, so stay tuned on TikTok. Ariel Vieira, The Megan Daily, or on my Facebook, Urbanist Live. And what is Megan's favorite French cafe? All right, well, let me make that the last question. What's the favorite French cafe? Actually, we'll make that two-part question. Do you have any specific French, and what makes you feel more Gossip Girl? That is not from Gossip Girl, but makes you feel like it.
I'm just thinking very carefully about how I answer this question. I do love Dominique Ansel Bakery. I love it with a fiery passion. And if I'm in a bad mood for any reason, I will just go there and shove their eclairs in my face. And I've been known to have my birthday party there and my fiance's birthday party there.
Oh, cool.
So I do love that. In terms of like atmosphere though, for like sitting down and like really feeling like you've been transported, I think the Ladurée in Soho.
That one, it's a truly gigantic restaurant, and it feels like one of those very big European brasseries, but Ladurée style.
And there's a brand new one that just opened up in Brooklyn, I think. I haven't been to. I forget the name of it.
Is it in the very poor neighborhood of Dumbo?
They just invented this
Gossip Girl reference.
croissant cereal.
Okay.
Where like you get these mini croissants and you pour milk on it, and it looks really good. I've never been. They literally opened, I think, while I was in Paris.
That's amazing.
But I suspect that one will become one of my favorites.
So one more time, The Megan Daily on TikTok. Is it also on Instagram?
Yeah, it's the Megan Daily on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and my website's themegandaily.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan. Round of hearts for Megan. Thank you so much for taking us around. Everyone, keep being awesome and always keep on exploring. And say in the Gossip Girl style or something similar.
Like, the time has come for all good things to end. But have a wonderful afternoon and enjoy those French croissants. XOXO, Gossip Girl.
I love it. And I do a wave goodbye every time if you want to join me. Bye-bye.